So Sean, we'll start with a pretty broad question. What does the Challenge Cup mean to you?
Pretty much everything, to be fair. Being a Wigan lad and born in Wigan, with the success they had throughout, the late 80s and the 90s, my first game was watching Wigan and Hull in the 84-85 when I was about 8 or 9, and then I've carried on watching them throughout the generation of all the Wigan wins, when they won 7 or 8 on the bounce. So it meant everything. And I remember saying to my dad, like, when I was about 9, I want to play in a Challenge Cup final, and he just looked at me as though I were mental. But that's all I wanted to do, just to play and experience the atmosphere and win the trophy in the Challenge Cup final. So I was literally brought up with it.
And not only did you play in the Challenge Cup final, you had a lot of success in Challenge Cup finals, and 3-time Lance Todd winner, I think still the only player to achieve that. What does that mean to you as a personal accolade?
Well, when I watched that game and Brett Kenny got the Lance Todd, I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. But I was more like, I just want to play one. And I played my first one in 2001 against Bradford. And I went and won on the field early doors, and I just checked the size of the in goals. It was at Twickenham, and I was like, these in goals are massive. So I thought I was just going to slag kicks through all day and just keep turning around, and we scored a couple of tries off that. And then when you're kind of leaning towards that back end of the game and you kind of know you've won, I was like, oh, we've won. And then Tommy Martin came over and slapped me on back of the head, and I was like, what's that for? And he's like, you just want Lance Todd? I was like, you're joking me? But it didn't sink in straight away. I was more just concerned about getting the win. And what came on back of that was winning the Lance Todd. And thankfully for me, I played in a great side. What got us to the Challenge Cup final, another 6 times, another 5 times, sorry, and we won another 4. I won another 2 Lance Todds. One was in 2004 against Wigan, which was bittersweet because they beat us 2 years prior to that. And that was probably my best game I've ever played in a game, in a Saints jersey, I think, or in a rugby league jersey. I thought that was probably the best I'd ever played. And then I won it again in 2006 against Huddersfield. I thought that was nip and tuck because there was a bit of talk about, can he do it again and win 3? Because I joined with Martin Afire and Andy Gregory, and that was an accolade in itself. I was like, that's great, but to win 3, we're playing Huddersfield, and I was playing all right. I scored just before half time, and John Wilkin was playing really well as well. And you don't want to do anything different in a game of rugby, but I thought I need to do something here, just so I could probably pip him. And I just had a run and went straight through and put a kick in for Jamie Lyon, and I thought I might have a chance here. Do you know, in the back of your head you're thinking, I'm still the teammate, I still want to win, we're doing it for the team, but it'd be nice to get 3, and luckily for me I did, and it was it's a good feeling. And like I said, my probably name will be always associated with the Challenge Cup and the Lance Todd.
Yeah, we might touch in a bit more detail on some of them in a little bit, but you mentioned playing at Murrayfield there, I think, Murrayfield and Twickenham, sorry. So you think you played Murrayfield, Twickenham, Millennium and New Wembley for the finals. What was could you compare those kind of stadiums and those atmospheres?
Twickenham at the time was just being rebuilt, so it was a bit of an eerie atmosphere, and obviously with it being, I think it was the first time it had been away from Wembley, it was a bit eerie and poor day. It wasn't a great game, if being honest, but the atmosphere was all right. It was good. Went to Murrayfield, and we didn't prepare very well against Wigan in 2002. We thought it was going to be easy, and they walked all over us. I was absolutely devastated about that. So in 2004, played another one at Cardiff. That for me was one of the best atmospheres I've ever played in, because it was a Saints Wigan derby, and we was right in the city at Millennium Stadium. At the time it was called Millennium Stadium. We was right in the mixer, and the fans was all outside, and the atmosphere was electric, and yeah, that were great. And then I think I played in the back at the new Wembley. We had the first game back at the new Wembley. James Roby scored the first try at the new Wembley, so that was quite significant. That we played there, and I think we got the win against Catalan. I think my memory's not that good anyway, but yeah, I do remember that. And then when we went on a winning run at Wembley, I think we won 7 against Catalan, and then we beat Hull in 2008, and that was a tough game. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to play in a very good team and at the right time, I think. And without those lads in that club, what I played for, I wouldn't have had that success I had. It's just kind of happened at the right moment, right time, right place for that club.
You mentioned playing with some great players, and you kind of touched on John Wilkin was performing well in one of the games when you won the Lance Todd. Is there any players that stand out to you on those Challenge Cup final days who really raised the game, or were kind of like an inspirational leader or talker, or any good stories from in the changing rooms?
The first one was at Twickenham, and I remember in Millward walking out as a coach at the time, and like I said, I spoke about there, he was just said, play a normal game and relax. I was like, oh, yeah, pretty hard, if I'm being honest, with my first Challenge Cup final, I'm all over the shop here, my nerves and that. But he was like, come here, visualise, kicking the ball into the in goal and stuff like that. Obviously I had a really, really good partnership with Tommy Martin and Kieran Cunningham, and I put 2 kicks in for them and they scored the tries. So that was that one. I do think in 2004 that against Wigan they had a probably better side than us on paper, but I think everyone raised the game, and like Paul Wellens played well, and like I said, Kieran Cunningham played well, but there's someone like plays what you forget about, like Willie Tallow, absolute blinder, and Lee Gilmore, absolute blinder, and you know what I mean. Like I said, I'm only like one cog in the machine, and without them, I wouldn't have played well. They was there to help me out, so they were massive in that 2004 winner against Wigan. In 6, Jamie Lyon was outstanding. Like he's made a break, passed it aside to me, or passed it to Ada Gardner, and then I scored on down the wing. And again, Jamie Lyon was probably our point of difference. He didn't have many touches, but what he did was world class. And you need those type of players in your team that come up with the goods at the right time. I think probably in 2008, Leon and Paul Wellens were just different level. Like it was, I just remember it being so hot. It was like 40 odd degrees pitch side, and it was from end to end and end. With breaks flying left, right and centre, and we were just out on our feet. But Paul Wellens saved about 3 or 4 tries, and then Leon scored one at the other end. And I thought, without those players, and I think John Wilkin had a big part of playing that as well. He charged a kick down, and we got the ball back, and just things like odd things that come into your mind, what you remember. I don't remember the whole game. Even now, I've never watched it back, but those like key moments in, you know, like parts of the game, what probably won us the game, if I'm being honest. That, you know, a charge down, who would have thought a charge down would have won you in the game? But those guys, what went unnoticed, I don't think they went unnoticed. I thought they was outstanding.
You've mentioned tons of brilliant players there, Jamie Lyon, Paul Wellens. 2 that stand out for me, because you obviously talk about being one cog, are Tommy Martin and Leon Price, halfback partners. How did they kind of compare with each other, and how did your game change or stay the same with each of those?
Yeah, it did change. So when I went to St Helens, I played as what you would call a natural 7. A 7 what passed the ball to the 6 a lot really, so it was 9, 7, 6. And I'd always kind of give it to Tommy and he'd make the play. So there was Kieran, myself, Tommy Martin, Paul Wellens. That was your spine of your team. So I had a really good understanding with Tommy. Sometimes I'd just slide a kick through, and everyone said, "Oh, did he wink at you? Or did he put his finger, you know, and said put it through?" I didn't. I just slide a kick through, and I knew he'd be there. You know, we was on the same page all the time. When Leon came in, I took more of a dominant role, and me and Kieran controlled the team, and I played on ball. Basically, wasn't sided, and I controlled the middle third of the field, and Paul Wellens and Leon Price would swing wherever they wanted, so they could go wherever they wanted. And if Leon saw something, I'd swing with him, and I was more of I'd lost a bit of pace by then, I think, and so I was more controlling it on the ball like a quarterback. He was more of a running threat, which suited me. So we bounced off each other in those ways, and so I had 2 good run threats with Paul Wellens and Leon Price, And again, at the time, that's what I needed because I'd lost a bit of pace, and we just was both halfbacks, so it was just like a match made in heaven, and I think that's where we had a lot of success, and that's why I rate them probably both one of the best players I've ever played with.
So Challenge Cup Final day, kind of talk us through what you're like as a player. Are you a nervous player? Are you a pretty relaxed player? Any superstitions, stuff like that going into a final?
I remember playing in the first one, I was quite nervous, so I just tried to tick all the boxes all the week. The second one, I didn't prepare well, and it cost me. That's the only one I've lost. I was against Wigan. We was chatting, playing cards till late, and we took them for granted that we beat them because we smashed a team in the semi-final. Didn't prepare well. Training the day before the game, we trained awful. So going into the 2004, we went down early, and I didn't really get nervous in any games. I didn't get nervous before grand final, didn't get nervous before Challenge Cup finals. But what I did like was sleep. So I like my sleep. So I like to, go to bed early and, sleep till about 9 o'clock. So in 2004, I had probably the worst sleep of my life because my teammate phone was going off all night and I couldn't get sleep. So I was a bit worried about that I'd not had enough sleep. But when I got there, I was all right. I didn't really get nervous before any game. Because I think probably during that week leading up to the Wigan game, we'd ticked all the boxes. I felt good. I'd done all my extras, all my kicking, all my weights. I ticked all the boxes, and I just thought, we're prepped here now, we're ready to go. There's nothing else that we can do. You know what I mean? Just go out there and perform on the big stage. And sometimes you can have a great week in training, but play rubbish. But we seemed to, if we ticked all those boxes going into the game, we seemed like we were sweet and we could beat anyone.
And then towards the back end of the Challenge Cup victories between 2006 and 2008, St Helens won it 3 times on the bounce. How difficult is that to do as an achievement, to just stay unbeaten in a competition for 3 years?
It's so hard because everyone's trying to knock you off, and you're the holders, and everyone wants to beat the holders of the Challenge Cup, whether it's in round 5 or round 4 or semi-final or the final. They always want to smash you. So every game's a big game, not just the final. But I've always feel like once you've had a taste of success in the Challenge Cup final, you want it more and more and more. So obviously I had a success in 1 and 4, but some lads hadn't. So when we won it in 6, new lads that had a taste of it, they wanted it even more. So we was like, how good is this? So we went again and again. And I do believe that once you've had that taste of success, you just want it even more. I think it's been proven as well. Like Warrington's won it a couple of times without bounce. I think Hull's won it a couple of times without bounce. It's a great feeling. You just want to be part of that feeling. The best part about it is the coach journey on the way home. Having catch up with all your mates, and then the open top bus going through town. That's the best feeling in the world.
And mentioned winning it on the bounce, and you've already touched on being from Wigan. Obviously, Wigan, the masters in the late 80s, early 90s of winning it on the bounce. You kind of touched on Brett Kenny winning the Lance Todd in '85. Is there any other standout moments for you growing up watching the Challenge Cup?
Ellery Hanley, when he scored the try, when he got the ball and he just crabbed. I was there. I went to that game as well, and he got the ball and he just crabbed back inside. And I think I'm not too sure where he scored. That was against Halifax, I think. And then there was another one where he just stood up Gary Conley, and I was just watching it amazed, like this guy, how talented he is and what a superstar he was. But like I say, I've had some great memories watching it, and I'm just fortunate I did it as a player. And
obviously, I think people maybe take the Challenge Cup for granted a little bit now. Do you still think it's as important as it has always been in the rugby league calendar?
Unless you've been part of it, unless you've won it, you'll probably say no. Do you know what I mean? But if you've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, got the open top buzz, had a right crack with your mates, lifted that trophy and got the medal, then it's 100% it's the best feeling in the world. People will say it's not as big as grand final, but they've not won the Challenge Cup and not played in it. So yeah, for me it's just as big.
And just finally, we kind of mentioned some of the amazing stadiums you played in the final. This year's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, brand new stadium. What are you expecting from that?
Oh, well, for me it just looks like a magnificent stadium, somewhere different in it, and I think it's not far from the mixer, as we call it, you know, where you can get out and about and have a few beers for all the fans. Which the one I liked was the Cardiff one, because you were straight out and with all the fans and celebrating with them. So yeah, I'm sure it'd be a fantastic venue. You know, I've only seen it on TV what a super stadium it is, and you know, every player in Super League now who's still in the cup will be wanting to play in that game. I'll guarantee that.
Now you've given us quite a few stories from some of the victories, so we'll just briefly touch on some each year that you won the Lance Todd. So 2001, what do you remember from that game and your performance?
I just remember the goals being so big, and my coach saying to me, "We wants to slide the ball through and kick the ball and just keep building pressure." And there was a big set Bradford. I remember we scored a couple of tries. I think Tommy Martin scored one and Kieran Cunningham scored the other. And then all of a sudden it poured down. Well, we were 12-0 up, so I'm like, well, that's fine. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and just keep sliding the ball in. Some said it wasn't the greatest game in the world, but I'm not bothered. I got the medal and got the t-shirt and took it home. So that's what I remember about that.
2004, again, Lance Todd Trophy winner. How did that one compare with 01, I guess, because it was the second time you'd won it? How did that compare? Did it still feel special? That
was the best feeling in the world. Best feeling in the world. One, because Wigan beat us 2 years prior, but two, it was just an absolute great occasion, great event, and like I say, it's probably my best ever performance in a Saints jersey, and to do it against my old rivals Wigan, who sold me, was kind of bittersweet. And to do it on that stage as well, in front of a packed audience and on BBC, that must make it even more special. Oh, it's mental. It's mental, like, you know, loads of people watching it. And when I watched it, it was always like Ray French commentating on it, do you know what I mean? And it's just like a great history behind it. I know Jiffy does it, and I know some other people now, but it's just when you watch the old games back, it's just like mind-blowing. And then going on to 06, you beat Huddersfield Giants. What do you remember from that game and your performance? I scored a try just before half-time, and I think that was a pivotal time to score because Huddersfield were playing all right. I think they might have scored first, if memory serves me correct. And I passed the ball out to Jamie Lyon, and he did his thing, and back inside to Edgar, and I scored in the corner just before half-time. And I think scoring that, you know, we came at the second half flying at the blocks because we knew he scored. We put on a clinic the second half. You know, they held the gloves up for 40 minutes, but they couldn't go with us for a full 80. And, you know, I set up a decent try in the second half, broke straight through the guts, kicked it for Jamie Lyon, and he scored in the corner. I thought, yeah, I might have a chance to win the third there. And heading into that game, obviously, I think you said there was a bit of talk of like, can Sean make it 3 Lance Todds? Did you feel added pressure that day going out there on the field? Yeah, but I like that type of pressure. You know, there was talk, could he do it? But when you go in playing in a game like that in the Challenge Cup Final, you don't want to do anything different. You want to play your normal game because otherwise it'll upset the team. You know, if I start doing things that I've not done all year and try and win the game on my own, it will just mess up the whole game plan. So what I tried to do is just try to do everything better, faster, quicker, stronger, and try and do it with more intent. And luckily for me, I did, and I thrived on pressure. I loved it.